بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So as we do every Wednesday in the beginning of China, we go through about a 5-minute reminder from the current book that we are going through is المشوق للقراءة وطلب العلم, the motivator to reading and seeking knowledge. And previously we talked about some ahadith and ayat that talked about seeking knowledge, and we talked about some of the statements of the ulama. And last week we also discussed how some of the scholars would even seek knowledge on their deathbeds, and even when they were in old age, in their 80s and 70s, they would learn and seek knowledge. And today, the next chapter that the author talks about is the eagerness and the love that the scholars had for books, both in reading and also buying books. And it's something very important, that a student of knowledge, shouldn't just suffice himself for just attending lessons and that's it, but also he reads outside those lessons. And you'll find that when it comes to books, the more a person studies and the more attached he becomes to books, then books becomes like a love to him. And it becomes something that fills him with joy, that when he goes to a bookstore, and he buys books and he collects books and then he reads those books and he benefits from those books. And that's why you find many of the ulama have actually written books regarding books as well. Khatib al-Baghdadi has got a few books, Taqid al-Ilm and Al-Jami' and Ibn Abd al-Bar's got a few books as well. And many of the ulama have got many books. And this is something which is very important for somebody who wants to learn. Ibn Hazm, rahimahullah, when he talks about the pillars of knowledge, those pillars that a person needs when he wants to learn. And he says, al-istiktharu min al-kutub, that a person needs to increase in having books. فَلَنْ يَخْلُوَ كِتَابٌ مِّن فَائِدَةٍ. And there is no book that is free from a benefit, meaning every book has some sort of benefit in there. And this is a great principle. Ibn Jawzi mentioned it as well in Sayyid al-Khatib, that every book has some sort of benefit. So there's nothing like, this book is not needed, this book isn't important. Every book has some sort of benefit. And he carries on to say, وَزِيَادَةُ عِلْمًا يَجِدُهَا فِيهِ إِذَا احْتَاجَ إِلَيْهِ. And each book has benefit in there, that when a person needs that benefit, he can find it in that book. وَلَا سَبِيلَ إِلَى حِفْظِ الْمَرْءِ لِجَمِيعِ عِلْمِهِ الَّذِي يَخْتَصُّ بِهِ. And there's no way a person can memorize all of the knowledge that he needs. فَإِذْ لَا سَبِيلَ إِلَى ذَلِكَ. There's no way he's going to memorize every single thing. فَالْكُتُبْ نِعْمَ الْخَزَانَةِ لَهُ إِذَا طُلِبْ. So that's why books is the best treasure chest for that person. If he wants to seek any sort of knowledge, where does he go to? He goes to these books. And then the author after that, he mentions a number of incidents of some of the ulama and how they were when it came to books. So for example, he mentions the story of Ibn Durayd, rahimahullah. And he says that one of his companions, he states, that we were just revising, we were talking with one another, and we were all mentioning the best place that a person can go to relax and to enjoy themselves. So one person mentioned the oasis of Dimashq, and the other person mentioned a different river, and another person mentioned a different place. They were all mentioning these different places. That person can go, gardens, and nice scenery, all these different places. And then Ibn Durayd, he said that all of these places are the gardens for al-uyun, for the eyes. فَأَيْنَ أَنْتُمْ عَنْ مُنَزِّهَاتِ الْقُلُوبِ. But where are you all from these gardens of the hearts? And somebody asked him, what are these gardens of the hearts? And then he answered by mentioning the names of some of the books. Likewise, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, somebody that his name you've heard over and again. He has a number of incidents with him also that show how high he put the status of books. And there was one time when he was very ill. And Ibn Qayyim mentions this in Rawat al-Muhibbin, that he was very ill. And Ibn Taymiyyah mentions this about himself. So he says, ابتدأني مرض, that I started to become ill. فقال لي الطبيب إن مطالعتك وكلامك في العلم يزيد المرض. That your studying and research of these books and talking about this knowledge and teaching it to the people, this is increasing you in illness. You're going to become more ill. فقلت له لا أصبر على ذلك. So Ibn Taymiyyah said to the doctor, I won't be able to have patience from this. It's not something I can stay away from. وَأَنَا أُحَاكِمُكَ إِلَىٰ عِلْمِكَ, and I will challenge you in your science. So he's challenging the doctor now, and he says to him, أَلَيْسَ النَّفْسُ إِذَا فُرِحَتْ وَسُرَّتْ قَوِيَتِ الطَّبِيعَةُ فَدَفَعَتِ الْمَرْض. Isn't it the case that according to the doctors, if a person starts to feel happy and tranquil, doesn't that get rid of the illness? So a person naturally is feeling happy all the time and he's in a good mood, that helps get rid of an illness? فَقَالَ بَلَى. So the doctor said, of course. So then Ibn Taymiyyah said to him, فَإِنَّ نَفْسِي تَسُرُّ بِالْعِلْمِ فَتَقْوَى بِهِ الطَّبِيعَةِ فَأَجِدُ رَاحَةً. That my soul, it drinks this knowledge, and my nature and my body becomes stronger, and that's where I find peace. And then the doctor said to him, هذا خارج عن علاجنا. This is out of our hands, we can't cure this. And that's why when the students of Ibn Taymiyyah would talk about him, the way they describe him, they would say, لا تكاد نفسه تشبع من العلم. He would never be full of knowledge. He would never feel full. ولا تروى من المطالعة ولا تمل من الاشتغال. He's never getting bored or busying himself with knowledge and researching. ولا تكل من البحث, and he never gets tired from researching. وقل أن يدخل في علم من العلوم في باب من أبوابه إلا ويفتح له من ذلك الباب أبواب. And there's never a time that he enters to learn about a chapter except that he goes so deep in that one chapter that he ends up understanding so many other chapters at the same time. ويستدرك أشياء في ذلك العلم على حذاق أهله. And he would gain knowledge regarding that science that even the specialists in those science wouldn't be able to gain. And like this, the Shaykh, he carries on to mention so many other statements. We don't have time to mention all of them. Ibn al-Jawzi, he says, إني طالعت 20,000 مجلد كان أكثر وأنا بعد في الطلب. He says that I have read over 20,000 volumes, or maybe more, and I am still studying, and I am still learning. And that's why in another statement he says, ليكن لك مكان في بيتك تخلو فيه. That you should find a place in your house that you're there by yourself. وتحادث سطور كتبك, and you have a conversation with the lines of your books. You have a conversation with the book. وتجري في حلبات فكرك, and let what you're taking in, let it just roam around in the plains and the arenas of your thoughts. Ibn Aqil al-Hanbali, he says, أنا أقصر بغاية جهدي أوقات كلي. That I spend all of my time and effort in seeking knowledge. حتى أختار صف الكعك وتحسي بالماء على الخبز. To save time, so I have more time to learn, I don't even eat bread. I eat the crumbs of the bread because it's easier to chew, and I have water with that, so it becomes softer and it's easier for me to digest. So I'm not spending that longer on eating. And then in another statement of his, he says that when it comes to seeking knowledge, if I am not able to, if my tongue becomes tired from speaking about knowledge and my eyes become tired from reading, then I relax and I start thinking about knowledge. And he says that I am more eager to learn in my 80s than I was when I was in my 20s. And I'll finish off with the statement of the grandfather Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. He got to such a state where he kept wanting to just benefit from books and so on, is that Ibn Qayyim mentions this in Rawat al-Muhibbin, that if he would enter the bathroom, he would say to his student, اقرأ في هذا الكتاب وارفع صوتك حتى أسمع. He say to his student standing outside, read this book and raise your voice so that I can still benefit whilst I'm relieving myself. Because it's not permissible for him to read in the toilet. But if somebody's reading outside, there's nothing wrong with that. So he would say, even in that moment, he would want to learn. So subhanAllah, you can see how the love of reading and the love of books and the love of knowledge entered into the hearts of these ulama, so much so that there was nothing else that they would treasure except this knowledge, and there was nothing else that they would think about except this knowledge. And that's why again it's important for us to learn. We have these lessons going on, we have about 3-4 lessons a week in different topics and different subjects, and it's upon us to attend these lessons and to learn. And if you want to reach this high status and the levels that these ulama got to, then we should also follow in their footsteps in terms of learning and so on. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us this love of Islamic knowledge and to grant us beneficial knowledge. Subhanakallah wa hamdaka, la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.